All right. Martha Reeves and the Vandellas. Well, you know what? It's that time. And you know what time that is? It's that time to introduce our special guest. And she's going to give us some history. She's going to give us a little bit of what she's doing, talk about her book, talk about Dr. Bombay, I believe, as well, and some of this brand new stuff that, this fruit that she has. And we're going to discuss some of those things. And if we can coax her into it, we may very well even get her to sing for us tonight. And again, for those of you just tuning in, this is the Hodo Show and the Other Viewpoint. I am your brother if there is no other. I'm Hodo, and this is our sister, the beautiful Martha Reeves. How you doing tonight?
Hi, how are you, Hodo?
Not bad.
Feel like I'm in the dark.
You feel like you're in the dark?
Yeah.
Let's see if we can give you some love light. Is that better?
Yeah, there you go.
There goes some love light. Now I'm gonna come over there and talk to you. Now
I want to say good evening to everybody. This is late. You know, I was almost about ready to go to sleep. It's 11 o'clock, but it's a good time if we got people watching. You think somebody might call me and talk to me? You think they might? I want to talk about those earlier videos. You know, while we were standing up on those tall platforms, we couldn't dance. They had pushed those three things together and made stairs. Then they separated them and had Rosalind and Betty stand on the other platforms. And everybody was dancing around us, almost doing the flip. You know, they were dipping around and kicking their legs, and we couldn't move on those high rises. And those were not the Funk Brothers. I know the music sounded different, but those were some studio musicians who were trying their best to play the funk like the Funk Brothers, but they didn't quite get there. But it was interesting to see that they would even try.
all right. Now, me take mine off. I'm just used to holding mine in my hand.
You go for it.
All right. Now, first of all, I want to thank you for coming down with us. We've been trying.
Oh, yeah, and by the way, on My Baby Loves Me, that was the Four Tops singing behind me and the Andantes, and I understand you had the Stubbs Girls on.
Oh, yes.
A couple of times. Well, her brother, Thelma's brother, was singing on that record with O.B., Lawrence, and Duke.
Okay.
And those beautiful voices. And every time I hear it, I just love it because I had a chance to sing with the Four Tops and the Andantes, Jackie, Louvain, and Marlene. So every record I made didn't exactly have Vandellas on the back of it. Or maybe we had six girls with the Andantes. And on Dancing the Street, Ivy Jo Hunter, who was one of the writers, sang on it. So we've had some interesting recording sessions and all about Hitsville, USA, our home.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we got to get into what you've been doing lately, because this week, I know there's been like a Motown thing going on, and I saw your name up on the marquee the other day downtown at what used to be the old State Theater.
Yeah.
Now, what were you doing down there?
We had a fundraiser to enhance the capabilities of getting jobs. Organization TGIF put on a benefit, and most of the proceeds went to the Salvation Army. I had to confess that a lot of times we'd gone to Goodwill and the Salvation Army and gotten secondhand shoes to keep going when we were younger. So it's a big help when you can't afford new things and you got children in school.
Okay.
I even brought this little purse my sister made for me. It's got my brothers. You've never seen them, but there were 12 of us.
Okay.
I had my 6 brothers here.
Yeah,
one of my sisters passed away.
see.
I'm not going to try to show it, but I wanted you to see it.
Yeah.
And this is Jessie, Lois, Delphine, and Eudora, and that's me. Lois and Delphine work with me currently.
Okay.
They're my Vandellas. Now, I had to wait for them to grow up and get old enough. And Lois started with me in 68, and Delphine started with me in 1980. Eudora sang with me in 1969 for a little while. I got some very talented sisters, and all of them work for the city. Jessie works for Kroger. Lois is with Urban League. Delphine just retired from Blue Cross Blue Shield. And Eudora works for the government. She's a social worker. She works for the government.
Okay.
So I got some very enterprising
the
sisters.
whole family doing the thing.
Superstars, yeah. My brother Benny is a very well-known blues singer here in the city. He sang at Motown before I did. He was on Do You Love Me? You know, the Contours record? That boom, boom, boom. That's my brother Benny. And my brother Thomas lives in Arlington, Virginia. He's the next oldest. And he works with the computer. He's a data processor.
Now, how did the whole family get into music like that? You know,
Grandfather. I'm a granddaughter of a Methodist minister.
Okay.
Had a church on Du Bois and Leland, the Reverend Elijah Joshua Reeves Sr. My dad's the junior.
Okay.
And we had a family church, and I started singing at the age of 3 in my grandfather's church.
Okay, and all of you sung in the choir or
yes,
throughout
we
the church?
we were the only talented out of my dad's 8 siblings. He had 3 brothers and 4 sisters, and we were the only talented kids. So it was like a lot of us. So we were our own choir.
Now, what about your father and
most of the Easter
grandfather?
programs? My dad played blues guitar and sang. Granddaddy just preached.
Okay.
Yeah, my aunts sang.
Okay.
Yeah, but my mother, Ruby, used to idolize Billie Holiday, and when she got tired of whipping us all soundly and putting us to bed like the lady in the shoe, she would sing to us. And when I sing ballads, and one that I might do for you tonight, I sound like my mom. I emulate my mom and her voice, how she used to sing us to sleep.
Now, who knew all of that?
I just told you. You got to know where you come from so you know where you're going. And
right.
It's been my desire to be a singer. I remember being in the kitchen at home. I was the assigned dishwasher because anybody else would get out of washing dishes by breaking them.
Mm-hmm.
So Mama said, "Girl, you wash my dishes because they don't break them. I ain't have nothing to eat off of where they're breaking my dishes." So I'd be in the kitchen and I'd turn the radio on and I'd do the opera. They'd throw things in the kitchen. They'd open the door and just throw, "Shut up." And the dog, Rocky, would put his paws over his ears because I'd hit some high notes he just couldn't tolerate. But I learned to sing in the kitchen with the water and the sounds of the knives and forks. And it's a good place to learn to sing. The acoustics are good in the kitchen.
Now, how did you end up in Motown?
I was singing at the 20 Grand.
Mm-hmm.
I was awarded a 3-night engagement at the 20 Grand. After the Delphis, the first group that I sang with and recorded with, we recorded on Checkmate, and the record didn't sell.
Mm-hmm.
So when my Aunt Bernice pierced my ears at the age of 11, she told me, she said, "You're going to be famous, and when you do, call yourself Martha Lavelle." Mm-hmm. So when the Delphis record didn't sell, and we kind of broke up because we all had to get jobs after graduation, I was found in the 20 Grand singing 3 songs during the happy hour because Dad had a rule. You had to be in this house before 12 o'clock or you couldn't come in.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to work. I was 21, but I had to work and get home before 12, so I took the happy hour. And on my 3rd night, William Stevenson, better known as Mickey, came in from the A&R department, and he was looking for talent. And he gave me a card and said, "You have talent. Come to Hitsfield, USA." Well, I went the very next day because it was Monday, the 1st of the month. I was working for Citywide Cleaners. And I knew I had no desire to go back to Citywide. I had been discovered. I had been given a card. I didn't know the protocol. I didn't know I was supposed to take that card and call and say, "Okay, I'd like an appointment for an audition." I went there the next morning at secretary time, and Mickey was there. William Stevenson had on the same suit that he had on the night before. He had been up all night writing a song for this drummer, Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he had his sleeves rolled up, his tie was disarranged, and, just to where the processes, his little process was must. He was just busy writing the song. So he said, "What are you doing here?" I said, What do you mean? You gave me a card and said to come here." He said, "Yeah, but we have auditions every 3rd Thursday. Answer this phone, I'll be right back." Because the phone was ringing off the hook. Well, I had a commercial course at Northeastern High School, so I knew how to answer a phone. "May I help you? Martha Reeves, A&R department, may I help you?" "Are you the secretary?" "There's no secretary." There is one now. Mr. Stevenson said he'd be right back. "May I take a message?" So I had a notebook, and I've got a stack of neatly stacked messages. There were 17 guys in that office. I wasn't just answering the phone for William Stevenson. I was answering the phone for Robert Bateman, for Holland Dozier Holland, for Smokey Robinson, for Freddie Gorman, for everybody.
Okay.
Andre Williams, everybody was a writer. Clarence Paul, everybody was there. And Ivy Hunter was there. It was all about keeping the ladies separate.
Now, hold on.
Being a good
so you
secretary.
just walked in the door and started being the secretary.
Yeah, I was asked to answer the phone, and I became.
And so you became.
There was no woman in that department
at the door. Because I've been to the Motown Museum and checked out a little of the history.
I went to the front door. She buzzed me in, and right there where that tape library is where the A&R department originally was located.
Okay, and so you just walking in the door and having, first of all, some skills.
Yeah.
Beyond singing.
Yeah.
you were able to get a job, which led to you.
Well, it wasn't really a job at first until my dad told me after 3 weeks, he said, you better get some money from those people. He said, because you go down there, maybe you make $5 when you do some sessions and you set up and snap your fingers or pat your hands and keep the rhythms. That's not enough money. You're not getting a salary. You can't go back unless you get a salary. So in 3 weeks, I cheerfully went back to William Stevens and said, look, my dad said I can't come back here.
Okay.
Since I'm just wasting my time here. So he went to Berry Gordy, and Berry allowed me to get a raise. I got a raise from $5 a session to $35 a week, and
Okay.
I happy because I could go back and tell Dad that I had did what he asked me to do, and I was indispensable. 3 girls replaced me when I went on my first Motown review, which was 94 one-nighters. It was in 9 months, almost like I had a baby. It was like 9 months, and I got on the bus with little Stevie Wonder, the Supremes, who didn't have a hit at the time. They were singing a song called "Let Me Go the Right Way." We had the Contours, Barry had written a song for them called "Do You Love Me." They had been singing First I Look at the Purse. The Miracles had a record out called "Get a Job." Then they had one out called "Shop Around." And Marv Johnson was on the tour singing "You Got What It Takes." So that tour left Detroit with a 12-piece band, a Choker Campbell band, on a broken-down trailway that didn't have a toilet. And we rode all over the United States for 94 one-nighters, 3 months of riding, maybe 1 or 2 days off. And the only hotel chain that would allow us to stay would be the Holiday Inn.
Okay.
And we stayed at a black hotel down in Alabama somewhere.
Now that part of it
Yeah.
had to be kind of hard, especially during those days when
You couldn't use the toilets.
You couldn't use the toilet. couldn't use the water fountain.
That's right. You had to
And-
find
and-
colored on it, and they would be so nasty you didn't want to go in there. We learned how to bush. We learned how to go in the bush because we went to one gas station, and this man took offense when I think it was Bobby Rogers and Joe Billingsley and I can't remember the third gentleman, might have been Sylvester Potts, ran in the station and said, "Hey man, where's your bathroom?" But he was one of those kind of people who was programmed with you saying "Yalsa" and "Nalsa." So he said, "What y'all niggers want?" So they said, "Don't you know who we are? I'm Bobby Rogers of the Miracles, and I'm Joe Billingsley of the Contours." And he got his shotgun out and came directly to the bus and said, "Don't another one of y'all niggers step off of that bus." It's the first time I ever saw a shotgun, point blank, and I backed back up and sat down. So the bus driver took us down the road where it was a little secluded spot. We went to somebody's cornfield and relieved ourselves, but it was really scary. That was scary.
Yeah. Now, you kind of skipped over. How did you go from being the receptionist / secretary / whatever to Martha Reeves singer? How did you make that
I was singing from the moment I walked in.
Okay.
The different producers, there were 17 guys, would come in to use the piano. That room had a clock, a file cabinet, a desk with a telephone and 4 telephone lines, and a piano. And they
Okay.
would take turns at the piano, and they would ask me to sing some melodies. They knew I was a singer. They'd ask me to help them rhyme songs. I should have been given producing rights, but I didn't know business. I was just glad to be there with all those talented people. As a matter of fact, I did a demonstration for Mary Wells called "I'll Have to Let Him Go." And when Barry heard it, after Mary left, he said, "Who is this singing on here?" So Mickey said, "That's my secretary, Martha." He said, "Well, put this record out on her and put those girls that sang behind Marvin Gaye on Stubborn Kind of Fella on the back of it." So then when we got a record, we had to change the name from Delphi's to Vandellas.
Okay.
And Vandellas is derived from the fact that I live on the east side. I wanted to make sure Van Dyke Street got in there somehow. And Della Reese is my idol.
Okay.
I was at Reverend Reynolds' church, New Liberty Baptist, one morning, and he looked out in the audience and said, "Della's in town. Della, give us a song."
And a lot of people forget that Della is from Detroit.
Hey, she was the most beautiful woman. She stood up in that church and a cappella sang "Amazing Grace," and I heard the chandeliers and the rafters just ring with her voice. And the next morning, I'm watching TV when I'm getting ready to go to work at the cleaners, and she's singing, "Don't you know that I've fallen in love with you?" Oh, and I said, "Oh God, this woman is famous." And I was in church with her. I'm inspired by her. So I'm saying, she's my idol. I want to be like her. And when we had a choice, had to make a name, Della Reese came to my mind.
Okay.
Vandellas, Delphis, my sister Delphine. It all fit. Vandellas. It
Okay.
fit good on a marquee. You don't know how many people have come to me and tried to give a definition to that name. They wanted to say we were vandals and we stole hubcaps while we danced in the street. Somebody said it's some kind of witchcraft. And, it was a vendetta. You got a revenge. I said, forget it. It's just Vandellas. It's what it says. It's what it means.
Okay, Van Dyke and Della Reese.
That's right.
Okay, well, now we know for sure.